107.5 The Game Podcasting is sponsored by Modern Exterminating, a family-oriented company. Professional, honest, and dependable pest control solutions. We're your one-stop shop for all pests.
There was this thing called a U.S. Open this past weekend.
Yeah.
And it was very, very interesting because you had not arguably, if you go by round score, you played the toughest course in the history of major golf over the weekend for the U.S. Open. And the U.S. Open is always, I read a great book by John Feinstein about the majors in golf. And he talked about how the USGA loves to make the U.S. Open as tough as humanly possible. And they love to trick up the course and change things up. And they're almost entertained by watching these guys suffer for 4 days.
Sure.
And don't get me wrong, I have friends who are golfers who love watching these pros suffer for 4 days because they look like them.
Yeah.
I love watching pros play like me. Exactly. J.J. Spawn, a great story, gets the W. It's a really cool post by Bruce Feldman. Just talking about LaNorris Sellers and how, you know, even when he was like a kid and he came out to the South Carolina camp, the 7-on-7 camp, that they liked him a lot. Mm-hmm. And then they wanted his and Shane was telling a story in this post about they wanted his high school tape every week just to watch him. And then they finally offered him in like October of his, I think, senior year, and he was already committed to Syracuse.
Oh, Syracuse, Virginia.
Syracuse.
Syracuse, okay.
Because he really went with the OC and the quarterback coach at Virginia. At first they were Virginia, but he didn't commit to Virginia.
Okay.
They were recruiting heavily. He committed to Syracuse because those two guys, Beck and Arne, went to Syracuse with Dino Babers. And then after they all got fired, they got fired anyway after a bad year. Mm-hmm. But he decommitted from Syracuse. He said he felt so bad. He was supposed to talk to him on a Wednesday. He couldn't do it till Friday because he felt so bad to turn him down because they had built a relationship. But his mom had said to him, well, what if these guys leave? Then you're stuck in Syracuse, New York.
Very true.
And guess what happened?
They left.
Mom's right.
Yep.
I stumbled upon something so interesting. I sent it to you to rack it up for us today.
Yep.
Former NBA ref, our boy Tim Donaghy, gives you a little insight on how the NBA passively aggressively could attempt to manipulate a playoff series. Now, again, let's remember the guy we're getting this from.
Do we fully trust him?
Right. Let's remember who we're getting this from. The guy who is, there's a reason he's not an NBA referee anymore.
Right.
So how much do we take this in as him just blathering to get himself clicks, so to speak? Or is he really telling us something that we go like this? Because it feeds into everybody's conspiracy theories, by the way.
It does, and you know, it's not the most outlandish thing, and I don't think it falls under, like, fixing necessarily, but can encourage certain outcomes.
I think manipulating is a nice way to do it.
Yeah, that's probably the better way to phrase it.
On this day, a lot of old school U.S. Open here, Tyler.
Yep.
Tommy Armour in 1927 won in a playoff over Harry Cooper. 1946, Lloyd Mangrum edges Byron Nelson in a 36-hole playoff. Ben Hogan this day in 1951 wins his second straight U.S. Open. Come from behind victory over Clayton Hafner, the great Clayton Hafner. 1956, Kerry Middlecoff won the U.S. Open by one stroke over Ben Hogan and Julius Burroughs. 1968, Lee Trevino becomes the first golfer to play all 4 rounds of the U.S. Open under par. Beat Jack Nicklaus by 4 strokes. Hale Irwin in 1974 on this day, Tyler, had won the U.S. Open. He took out Forrest Fessler by 2 strokes in what has become known as the massacre at Wingfoot. Not a single player breaks par in the first round. Irwin 7 over, the second highest score to win the U.S. Open since World War II. The highest, Julius Boris, 9 over par.